Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Maggie.
Hey,
Hey,
Maggie.
Maggie.
I'm so excited that there are so many people here. I mean, this meeting was pretty badass before, and now there's just like so many more people, and I'm so happy because there are definitely times in sobriety where we cannot make it to an in-person meeting. Like if we're lucky enough to stay sober long enough to find a partner and have a baby, you're like stuck home with the baby for quite some time. And like, we get in car accidents, we get sick and can't leave the house. And it's just good to know that like, no matter what freaking pandemic is happening, we're still gonna have a meeting and we're still gonna stay sober. And I'm so grateful. Because I can get pretty crazy without meetings. So, okay, so my sobriety date is April 1st of 2009. And I have a sponsor. Her name is Dawn. She's my new sponsor. And so like many of you, my early life was a veritable cornucopia of trauma and anxiety disorders and depression. And so by the time I came across my first drink when I was 18, I felt immediate relief when I used alcohol. And I don't really know what other people feel like when they drink. Like apparently normies, like some of them don't like drinking alcohol. They don't like the feeling. I was like, what is the matter with you? Like, what are you even talking about? Like when I drink, I feel like a god. Okay. And like, who wouldn't want to feel like a god? And when I drink, I feel like not only has my anxiety and depression disappeared right now, but I feel like all the past anxiety and depression has been like wiped out, and that I will never feel anxious or depressed ever again. I feel like omnipotent. So, unfortunately, the like level to which I felt like a god when I was drinking, I would feel like the opposite of that when I was hungover the next day, and I would be
For those of you who don't play something we can dance to.
God. I'd feel like equally that terrible the next day because of hangovers and like emotional hangovers. Like I would feel horribly ashamed and feel really guilty that I'd like hurt myself so much with the alcohol that I drank. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And God, like, why don't other people get hungover the way I do? And why can't I drink as much as I want to without feeling so bad the next day? So that like carried on for quite some time, and the anxiety wasn't getting better. And I started up some solid outside issues in order to manage the anxiety with some nice respectable prescription medication. And the depression didn't get better, and the trauma didn't get better. And so like, fast forward a bunch of years. So finally, like one night I just like drank what I normally drank, and I took the pills that I normally took, and I didn't feel better. I was like, okay, that's weird. So I like drank some more and like took some more pills, and I still did not feel better. So I like drank some more and took some more pills, and I still didn't feel better. And so I got like ragefully angry, and I was like, I am done with this. Like, never again. You have betrayed me. Like, substances, I needed you to do a job. You had one job, right? Like, take away my bad feelings. And when they stopped doing that, I was like, okay. Because like along with all the other stuff, I was also starting to feel suicidal quite a bit. And I tried so many different like medications and different kinds of therapy, and I'd lived in like 4 different states, and I had all different kinds of boyfriends and lived in all these different situations. And I tried to go to a like PsyD program for psychology to try to like feel better, and none of it worked. So I was like, well, okay, so like the only thing left for me to try to feel better is to like quit drinking, which is like ridiculous and obviously not going to work, because the substances make me feel better, and not being able to use them after like suffering through a long day of torment doesn't sound like a good solution to me. So I was like, okay, well, I really want to kill myself, but like my mom, right? Like my family has an even more veritable cornucopia of suicide experiences. My mom used to have 6 siblings, but now she only has 2 because 4 of them killed themselves. So I was like, okay, I really need to like earn my way to that suicide attempt because I can't just like try to kill myself before I try everything. Like I have to be able to say in my suicide note that like, Mom, I tried everything, right? So I was like, fine, I'll go to freaking AA. So I go to AA and it's weird, right? Maybe some of you are thinking this right now that are kind of new. Like, what is everyone smiling about? What is everyone laughing about? Why do y'all look like you've had a haircut and you're wearing nice clothes? Like, what the hell kind of alcoholics are you? Like, this is not what I saw in movies and television. So, like, I'm confused. And I just decided to like give it a try. Like, I had nothing to lose, right? Because I knew it wasn't going to work. So I was like, whatever, this will be a lark. I'll just, like be in AA until I can finally conclude that it doesn't work, and then I'll just kill myself. So I just did like what everybody told me to do because I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Like, let's have a little fun, while we're just like messing around, waiting to die. And so I like got people's phone numbers, and I called people, and I went to a meeting every day. In fact, I went to 200 meetings in the first 90 days, literally, because the withdrawal that I started to go through from the outside issues was really long. It took like 2 months to get all the way through that withdrawal all the way and stop like hallucinating and having like a gross motor spasms all the time. And so all I knew was that like when I went to these meetings on a lark, I could be like shaking and I could be sweating, and nobody cared. Everyone understood and like wanted me there anyway. I was like, okay, now this is getting weird. Like, you're freaking me out. What do you mean? What do you mean it's okay if I need to like have a panic attack in the corner as long as I come to the meeting? Like, I'm welcome to come even if I'm freaking out and sitting in a corner? Wow. And like, people were happy to see me. I'd show up and people were like glad that I was there. That didn't happen all that often toward the end of my drinking. I don't know about y'all, but that didn't happen a lot. So then like, I started kind of like making friends because there were like these really nice people who were like pretty close to my age, and they were really friendly and they were really funny and they were really charming. And I was like, oh, so like now I'm like laughing along with these people in AA, and like I'm smiling with these people in AA, and that's weird. And they like call me because they want to know if I'm going to the meeting. And sometimes it was like because they needed a ride, but also it was like because they wanted me to go. And then there were like dances, like I could go dancing at an AA dance and not have to be hammered. That was weird. Okay, I don't recommend you try that. So you've been sober for a couple of weeks because it takes like 6 or 7 songs of awkward dancing before everything kind of smooths out and you sort of forget what you're doing and you're not anxious. So yeah, it's a slightly more advanced sobriety skill. Call your sponsor. And so I was like, wow, well, okay, well, I guess I won't kill myself, because I mean, like, if this is going to continue, if I can like, I don't know, feel happy, and like the panic attacks weren't that bad anymore because I could just like, I knew I could have one in front of anybody in AA anytime, and they'd just be like, it's cool, like I'm here for you, and they weren't going to like ostracize me or kick me out or tell me to calm down. Like, in the history of calming down, no one has ever calmed down because somebody said calm down. So like, I'd had enough of like people trying to help me who really didn't understand anxiety, but people in AA understand anxiety. And so because I felt like I could have one anytime, then all of a sudden I like calm down all by myself with their support and help. And so, like I would do things like take a look at the steps on the wall, and I saw that one about like God and like a moral inventory, and I was like, no. I don't think I'll be doing any God things, because part of the trauma that I experienced was being hit on by a priest during confession. So I'm not doing that. Like, fuck that. That sounds like Catholic school. Like, uh, and so I had to choose a sponsor. And I didn't know how to choose a sponsor because I was in the habit of making really bad decisions. So I was like, how can I trust myself to choose who should be my sponsor? This is like counterintuitive. Then someone was like, oh, you can just get like a temporary sponsor. You can just be like, hey, can you be my temporary sponsor while I like look around for like a permanent sponsor? And most people will say yes, because like almost anybody can handle a temporary sponsor. So I grab myself a temporary sponsor and then I look around for a sponsor and I listen to all these women during meetings while they're sharing, because I'm looking for like, which one of these women is never going to shame me? Which one of these women is never going to make me feel guilty? Because like that was the stuff that made me want to drink the most, feeling ashamed of myself and feeling guilty. So like I picked the like least judgmental and shamey of the women that I could find, and she was an amazing woman, 75 years old. Her name is Elizabeth. She's in heaven now. But I was able to trust her enough and call her every day and let her take me through the steps. And she knew my history with the Catholic Church and everything, so she wasn't like pushing me to believe in like the God, like the guy with the white hair and whatever. She was like, she was from Atlanta, and she had like lost part of her vocal cords because of cancer, and so she had this really like raspy, amazing voice with a Southern accent. And one day she was like, "So, darling, AA works if you believe in God. AA works if you don't believe in God. AA will not work if you believe you're God." And I was like, cool, okay, I know I'm not God. So as long as I don't have to like believe in God, like, okay. So for all my sobriety, my higher power has been the group of drunks, right? GOD stands for group of drunks. It also stands for good orderly direction. And so I just tried to like, when it was time to make a decision about anything, I would try to think about like, what would be a good orderly directional, like good direction kind of decision to make. And if it doesn't like occur to me immediately, then I would bring it to the group of drunks. I'd show up at the next meeting and be like, so I'm trying to decide, like, should I go back to college or should I not go back to college? Like, you know, and people would like share their experience, and then I could make a good decision. So, so that was amazing. And I want to make sure I leave a few minutes to talk about how my life is now, because I'm in the habit of like taking up the entire time talking about how terrible my life was before and how hard early sobriety was. And then I'm like, and that's all the time we have, bye. So I'm just gonna like say a few more things about the early sobriety period. Okay, so the easy way for me to stay sober was to get a service commitment, which means you like, you know, do something for AA meetings, like you be the tech chair, or, you know, you like be the person who's gonna like help people who aren't tech savvy, like figure out how to get on the meeting, or you chair the meeting, or you're gonna read some of the stuff, you know, the 12 traditions and 12 steps and whatever. Like if you do literally anything for AA, it's an act of service. And being of service did a couple things for me. One, it gave me like a justifiable reason why I was allowed to be certain places. Like I was always feeling like I can't go to like that meeting, or like I can't be on that committee because like they're too cool and like I'm not cool. But if I had a service commitment, I had to be there. So like they had to let me in. They had to let me be there. So I would show up to you know, Icky Paw's, you know, the bid for Icky Paw, and direct their bid skit video with my degree in theater performance, and feel like I helped something, like I made the world a better place in like a little way. And I was like starting to get this weird feeling. You know, I was like trying to describe it to my sponsor. I was like, I don't know, like I did a thing, and like it turned out really good, and I like don't regret doing that thing, that service. And she's like, you feel proud of yourself. And I was like, wow, is that what it is? Oh, well, I like feeling proud of myself. That's a nice feeling. So I'm gonna like do some more service so I can keep feeling proud of myself. So like that made it really easy to stay sober, because I was always hanging out with people from AA. And then we'd like, go to a meeting or whatever, like go get dinner and then go to a meeting. Or we'd be like talking about our sponsors and like be sitting at like Denny's at 3 o'clock in the morning and somebody would be like, oh my God, like I forgot to call my sponsor. I got to call my sponsor first thing in the morning. And I'd be like, oh yeah, me too. Like write it like in my little reminder. So like, and things like your fourth step, right? Like everyone's afraid of the fourth step. But like when all your friends are doing their fourth step and then their fifth step, and they're like surviving that and like not dying and not drinking over it, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so relieved. Oh my God, it was freaking amazing. Like I'm so glad I did it. I'm like, oh, like, okay, so like if they do it and they feel okay about it, like maybe I can do it and feel okay about it. So yeah, so like if you want to stay sober the easy way, at least how it was for me, get a service commitment. And then like the other way that I stayed sober was, so like in the back of the big book, there's this quote by Herbert Spencer that's like talking about, I can't recite it from memory, but it's like there's a principle that's like a barrier to all knowledge, and it's a prevents whatever like prevents you from like taking anything in and considering like facts, and that principle is contempt prior to investigation. And I was like, damn, that's good. Oh my God, who's Herbert Spencer? This guy knows some things. And my sponsor was like, yeah, like for example, like if I give you a suggestion, you could like do it and then decide after you do it if it was a good idea to do or not. And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So I can do it. I can do the thing first and then decide if it was a good idea. Like not decide before I do it that this is dumb and I don't want to do that thing. It's probably going to be a bad idea and then like refuse to do it. I could like just do it and then decide afterward. So I just kind of like started doing that with like a lot of suggestions. I just freaking do it. And then most of the time, like things turned out great. And I was like, huh. So I guess I kind of like need people's suggestions in order to live right, in order to live in a way that's like not going to screw me over in the future. So that kind of made it easy to stay sober too, because like things were getting better. As I stayed sober longer and longer, and as I took more and more of everyone's suggestions, I started like, I got a job, and I got my own, like I was allowed to crash on my friend's couch for a while, and like I had like friendships, and I was able to like take some college classes and like, put together my resume and do all these like really scary things. Because I had so much support and everyone understood. I could walk into a meeting and be like, you guys, I'm freaking out. Like, I don't want to make my resume, okay? I don't want to write out my resume, because if I have to look at my stupid history of all the drinking I did and all the stupid jobs that I like messed up and like got fired from, like I feel so ashamed. Like I'm like embarrassed of my resume. Like I can't look at it. I can't look at it. They were all like, yeah, for sure. Like, no, totally. Yeah, me too. Like, you should see my resume. It's a hot mess. Like, oh my God. Woo. Like, we can like sort of teach you how to like arrange it so it doesn't look like quite such a hot mess. So like, there was nothing that I was feeling that I could go to a meeting and talk about and like no one knew what I was talking about. There was never a time when everyone was like, what? You're feeling what? It was like every time, like most people understood what I was talking about. And it was like, oh my God, that was so valuable to me. Like I desperately needed to be understood. I just desperately needed that. And it was awesome. So like now, like 10 years later, I managed to like put together a healthy relationship, and like we're going to get married if the pandemic ever freaking ends. And I have a graduate degree, I have a master's degree in social work, and I work as a therapist, which is like, has been my dream for like 20 years. And so I finally did it. And then COVID-19 happened and I lost like 75% of my clients, but it's cool. It's cool. Everything's gonna be fine. If I don't drink, see, here's the thing. If I don't drink, everything's gonna be fine. Because if I don't drink, then things can only get so bad. If I stay sober, it doesn't matter if like ultimately like I can't get enough clients and I have to get some like dumb job that I don't use my degree, and even if I like lose my apartment, and even if I lose my fiance, like I'm never going to be homeless. You know, like I have so many sober friends that would like let me crash on their couch until I can find a place or whatever. And I'm never going to starve to death because like I have so many friends in AA that would like freaking feed me. So I don't have to be afraid. I don't ever have to drink because if I drink, there's no limit to how bad things can get. Things can get so bad, like worse than they ever were before. They can just get worse and worse and worse and worse. So, you know, even though things are super weird right now, and frankly, like pretty terrifying, like there are some futures that could happen with this pandemic that terrify the shit out of me. But as long as I don't drink, it can only get so bad. There's so many people in AA that even if like half of us die, okay, like there's still the other half. Like AA will survive because there's so many of us, and we need to stay sober so badly. So that's huge. Like talk about like my anxiety is so much better than it ever was. Like it's so much better because like I'm not afraid. Like I'm not vulnerable. I'm like safe. What? I know. So I really appreciate you guys being here because I need meetings, and I'm so excited to, like I said, so excited that there's so many of you guys now, and I hope you'll come back and come back more and more and more and get yourself a temporary sponsor. And I love you, and that's all I got.
Thanks, Maggie.